If you've been active in any Minecraft related community for the past 2 months or so, you've probably heard this very statement already.
If you would follow the rules that we have today, we would probably not add the creeper.
And to a large extent, you can most likely start putting the pieces together on what this entire controversy is about. Essentially, Minecraft is a game with many years on its back, which has evolved, divulged, and changed through the span of over a decade. And it's gone from being a mere indie game that a few people were following.
Back in the early days, we would sometimes have an idea on a Monday and then release it on a Friday.
To actually becoming the most massive video game in history, at the time of recording still sitting at the peak of best-selling game charts, with absolutely zero intentions to climb back down. And videos keep popping up in my feed of people not understanding the fundamentals of what this topic means, and how it's gone from an indie game to an actual giant corporation, and eventually, at one point, changes have to be made. Personally, the biggest misunderstanding currently is that people are just taking clips out of context, spreading them without even realizing what else is said in that video, and even going as far as to label it as a simple Jeb interview. In the actual video, they divulge into how they don't want to treat players unfairly and want to make
bad things happen, but they're technically the player's fault.
Which again, people have been misinterpreting too. This time as if Mojang was completely denying the ability to make anything even so remotely dangerous, as also in this video the fact trial chambers are completely optional gets thrown around a little. But I'll come back to dissect all of this later, because I'm currently giving you the plot points on why it's being so controversial before I start to actually tear this whole thing apart.
There's a lot of what we call emergent game design in Minecraft, so when you add something new to the game, oftentimes it will have interactions with other features that you didn't think about when you were adding it.
We often worry that we missed something.
And this is also especially true, as Minecraft is a ginormous interconnected system in which you can quite literally ruin the entire game with the addition of a single destructive feature. So, now that you understand all of this and heard the words directly from Jeb's mouth, let me explain. Minecraft was an indie game developed by Notch and what later came to be known as Mojang Studios and yada yada yada. You know all that. And its features were originally sprinkled in, like Jeb said, by being thought of in a Monday and being dropped in an actual Friday. Minecraft did not ever have a giant interconnected plan and was basically just a small project crafted in a basement that eventually spiraled into insanity. In fact, most things in Minecraft weren't and still aren't truly cohesive. And that's what Mojang's been cooking up for the past few years, with what I call the modernization updates. Let me explain. Right, Minecraft went from 1.0 to 1.9, the combat update, with absolutely no changes to the core gameplay mechanics or the way they added new features. Sure, maybe a structure was added, a block, a game-changing redstone contraption, but nothing that actually changed the core formula. In fact, you, right now, go play the latest version. Start counting which monsters or mobs do you see the most and compare them to the ones you see in 1.0. You can probably start telling they're not quite different. In fact, Minecraft's had the same pool of 4 or 5 hostile mobs for the past decade. The zombie, the skeleton, the spider, the enderman, and finally, the creeper, the outlier. The creeper is by far Minecraft's most iconic thing, mostly due to marketing, but also due to the bizarre feature that it actually is. A green leaves camouflaging look-alike monster that sneaks up on you, plays a hissing sound and blows you and your house up. And yes, the creeper is good. It's a great monster that you cannot truly combat, because despite how advanced you are currently in the game, you'll never be able to truly get rid of them, unlike, for example, zombies. The creeper is always a threat because not only it can kill you in a virtual world, but it can destroy things you have sentimental value attached to. It's a great counterattack for the 2 mob slots zombies and skeletons occupy, for just being a nuisance. And this is what I wanted to get to. Because Mojang is not saying, we would never add the creeper, we would delete it if we could. No. A far cry from that. In the actual interview we're dissecting, they explain how the game's philosophy has changed. And to sum it up, how they don't want to change the game score to add a super destructive thing right now. And basically how they just don't want the player to feel like the game's unfair. Because stop lying to yourself. If Mojang right now, in this day and age, announced they'd be adding this actual irritant, pain in the ass headache of a creature, you'd probably be mad. And not just mad, you'd go rant on Twitter, you'd watch YouTube videos on how stupid it is to add such a feature, and Mojang would get extremely bombarded with hate. And they're more aware of this than you were before watching this video. And hey, I've also seen plenty of people say, alright, but Jeb also added the phantoms. Isn't that already breaking his own rules? No, not really. It is your fault. Your fault for not sleeping. It's not a giant game mechanic. You can get to the Ender Dragon without ever noticing them. But it's a way to keep you from never sleeping and simply trying to avoid mobs completely, which you can still do either way. It's just another nuisance. And listen, if you still aren't with me, sure, fair. But think of this. How many mobs in Minecraft have been added after the Ender Dragon, which change core game mechanics that you absolutely need to get past through in your way to killing the Ender Dragon? Think. Got any? No? I knew it, because there actually aren't any. The phantom only appears if you don't sleep, sheep are plentiful anyways, and phantoms don't spawn randomly. Piglins are optional and neutral. Most of those, like bees, goats, don't pose a real threat unless you actually hit them. And biome variants like strays, husks, or the new parched, or even drowns, don't really count. None of these really provide a different mechanic in your way to the end. And that's what I'm trying to make you understand. From the moment the Ender Dragon was added to this day and age, no mob has been added that changes your core progression and is a mandatory encounter in your way whatsoever. In the same way zombies, skeletons, spiders are everywhere and will 100% try to kill you no matter what. Do you understand where I'm coming from now? Because Minecraft, despite so many updates, has remained the same. Its mobs achieve a perfect balance that, although you can argue would be easy to slice apart and sprinkle a few more little mobs in, the game has worked for so many years so well for a reason. Minecraft is only what it is because Notch crafted that perfect formula so many years ago. And while, yes, another counterpoint is that maybe Mojang's too afraid to change anything, they clearly aren't. It's just that some core mechanics must stay the very same, and they don't need to add bigger things just to break people's balls. The biggest changes they're doing now are post-Ender Dragon, optional side quest material, or things to spice up the ambience or some little thing like the copper golems. And at most, they'll do some mechanic overhaul like the combat update, which wasn't that big anyways, and I remind you, came out in 2016. I feel pretty old now. And so, Mojang is not simply too afraid. They just don't really need to change anything in order to keep pushing updates and making the game fresh. Why would you want to change something that's already a perfect balance? And that is why Mojang currently truly understands Minecraft's creative intention. And no, Jeb is not the one to blame here, like some people are also implying. Because if you think that, you probably aren't too aware of who Jeb actually is. Because he might be the current chief creative officer of Minecraft, basically serving as the entire creative lead, but Jeb is the one who took not just random assortment of features and attempted to polish them into a more professional product, planning them with months and years ahead. Jeb's philosophy is that the sandbox must last forever, and has a very clear and well set idea on what the game needs or does not need. And this is not new, like I was saying, because Jeb's been making these decisions since 2011. probably much before you started playing Minecraft. He is the one responsible for the entire redstone overhaul in 1.5, adding basically the entire redstone system. He was responsible for many mobs like horses, cats, rabbits, foxes, and many more to name a few. He even was the main man in charge of every large update like the combat update, the aquatic update, the village and pillage, and even the generation overhaul. And it might not seem like it, but despite not being the original vision and creator behind Minecraft, it's still in good hands and still part of that original vision. And will most likely be as long as Jeb stays in charge. So just keep that in mind next time you play. Focus on what mobs you actually encounter, because Minecraft still works for a reason. Only because Mojang respects its core. The core that doesn't really need to evolve, because it's timeless and it will always be that way. And that's what they are actually so afraid to break. Because like I said before, why would you change something that's already perfect?